Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia. With me is my colleague, Dzof Azmi, and I'm Karamjit Singh, and we're going to just jump right into it with the first story. And remember, we want to talk about stories and comment on stories which we feel will have an impact on Malaysia's digital economy. They do not have to be the stories that DNA has written, all right? And but this first one is actually a press release or media statement sent out by the until recently MDEC Chairman, Dr. Rais Hussin, who announced, I think, on Wednesday that on Wednesday that he had chaired his last board meeting and he has stepped down as MDEC Chairman, non-executive Chairman. And that set off a lot of flutter of discussion in the industry. And I got to say that a lot of people I've spoken to are relieved and have said thank a good riddance and thank goodness, right? Because Dr. Rais Hussin clearly and openly overstepped his authority, because the role is as a non-executive chairman, and Rais started acting as the executive chairman, and people feel that his actions damaged the MDEC, in the ability of MDEC to run itself as an organization to deliver Malaysia's digital economy. And supporters of Surina Shukri, the former CEO who left on August 31st, also contend that this was also a key reason why Surina could not run her agenda and be the kind of CEO that she could have been. So it's very interesting that supporters of Surina are saying that. Surina herself has kept very quiet. She has up till now, which is this Saturday night, not that I know of, made any public statement, or especially I guess on her LinkedIn. She's not into Instagram or tweets, right? Defending Rais or just thanking him for his service, which is kind of interesting. But we leave that aside. So my preamble is already showing you that this is going to be a very interesting discussion between me and Dzof, especially because Dzof had a very senior and long-time MDEC executive calling him and chatting with him about this issue also. So Dzof, do you want to step in and share some of your thoughts before you ask me some of my thoughts then?
Yeah, I can't obviously. So this was something that was in private conversation, but I can sort of share with you and the listeners that there is some concern about what happens to MDEC now, right? Primarily, the big question mark is with a new CEO and with a lack of chairman, a new chairman coming in. So you're going to have to sort of begin, because to me, I mean, I don't know whether you agree with me on this, Karam, but to me, you have the chairman, you have the CEO, and they have to work with each other, right?
Yes.
You have the chairman of the board that sets out the large, high-level direction of what you want the organization to do, and the CEO is the guy that executes this, makes it happen, right? And there's going to be some overlap because the CEO is going to have a vision as well. And it's interesting, by the way, that you said that Rais Hussin overstepped his role as
very clearly, and he didn't make any bones about it. This is not a long established chairman, getting comfortable in the role and slowly, he's they do creep, right? You call it something influence creep or whatever, right? And you start getting, hey, I think I can do more. I want to do more, man. I'm a great CEO. I should have been the CEO, whatever. And this happened openly, right? Although he has been
but the thing is, Karam, there's I was going to say there's several elements to this, right?
Okay.
So one is, I think, well, this is just my personal belief. I think there is some room for flexibility in the two roles between CEO and chairman, right? And if a chairman is in position to do certain things in a more hands-on way than the CEO, then I think the chairman should kind of take it on. Now, the problem is when the boundaries overlap, right? And you have one doing stuff that the other person thinks they should be doing. Then that clearly is an issue, and that is really less an issue that the chairman oversteps and more an issue of either turf or territory or whatever you want to call it. And it creates problems.
Of course,
even the best of intentions, yeah, Karam, it creates problems. But the thing is, Karamjit, the thing is, some people might think there's a relationship between the two, because the cabotage issue and the resignation came very close to each other time-wise, right? So some people might think, oh, because he was so vocal about the cabotage issue, that's why he had to resign. But we know that this has been in the works for a while, right, Karam?
Absolutely. I can unequivocally, I think I said that wrong, but definitively say that the cabotage, him slamming the minister as having the IQ of a vegetable, a certain vegetable, had nothing to do with him, him stepping down as MDEC chairman, nothing at all. In fact, it could be, because that happened 2 weeks ago, right? So like end of September. And he was already, he already knew in middle of September, right? Middle of September, that he was going to be leaving. So it was already something he knew. So maybe that emboldened him to be that much in the face, or some would even say rude, right, to the minister. So, but again, nothing to do with that, no. But anyway, the key thing is, and I should mention this, even people who work well with Rais, right, when he was in MDEC, and members of the former senior leadership team also agree that Rais got one thing very wrong about MDEC. He came in and he says that he had this strong word that he said we have to balance the budget. And everybody arguing, at least everybody means, I mean, that MDEC senior leadership said that MDEC is a development agency, right? You cannot talk about balanced budgets. Its role is to get funding from the government, right, amount, and to distribute it to the ecosystem, to rakyat, as fast as possible, so that the impact is felt on the ground. And Rais, even those who the talk is that they work well with him, agree that he got this totally wrong. And him coming and saying we must balance the books, and I want to see balanced budget, right? And he also mentioned in the interview with DNA, right, in June of last year, that in November of last year, that it's his taxpayers' money, it's public money. Every cent should be accounted for. And I think he missed that key picture of MDEC. And because of that, then, as we all know, when they brought in the new management, structure, right, in January of this year, the approval process grind to a halt literally, because it got stuck at the board. The board have to approve so many things. So, I can just to reiterate again what I said at the very beginning. Very few people are sad to see Rais go, but Rais is, I know, unapologetic. He says that he felt he did what was the right thing, and his conscience is clear.
Okay, so I think we should move on to the next story, Karam.
Okay, yep. So let's. I'll let you take leads with that very interesting Pikom piece of research, right? Which they've also renamed a little bit, but that's just semantics, lah. Digital jobs, right?
Yes. So Pikom, which is obviously the National IT Association of Malaysia, they had a research publication this year. The title of research I'm reading here, Economic and Digital Job Market Outlook. And I'm afraid, Karam, the news isn't amazingly good, right, about the outlook of the job market in the IT sector. Specifically, I think what the thing that really jumps out very quickly is that there is a clear downward growth trend from as early as 2019 to 2020 for the local salary outlook. Now, what that means is that if they have these charts in their presentation. If you look at the year-on-year growth rate from year to year, it starts off in early 2010s at like maybe 10%, 11%. So this is your salary growing from year to year. But then as you get closer and closer to 2019, 2020, it actually goes, in some cases, into the red, right? Yeah. There's like there's a decline in salary growth, which obviously is bad in many ways. Now, what is even for me more worrying, and I know you have some words about this, Karam, is that in the slide labeled key takeaways, which is one of the last slides that appears in the presentation, is that there's concern that talent supply may outstrip demand in the next few years, depending on domestic and global growth. And I know people have been saying, oh, Malaysia's talents, we never have enough talent. Our companies are hungry for talent.
Yep.
It's so hard. Why can't we generate enough talent? I tell you, the opposite problem is worse. Opposite problem is that you have all this great talent, but they've got nothing to do. And I know you have some words to say about this.
No, so I will tell you, there will never be a scenario, at least in the next decade, okay? So here's me just putting in my own caveat, where anybody who's got a technical skill will be unemployed or even underemployed, simply because now technology roles are global in nature. They have broken boundaries, which means that somebody based in Malaysia could be doing work for a employer in Hong Kong, in India, or in Australia. Australia meaning not Perth, which is like the same time zone, but like in Melbourne, 4 hours away, or even Sydney, right, 5 hours away. So really now technology skills have flattened the world and have dismantled borders. Okay, so I don't think it happened, and I think Pikom is just being overly cautious here. I don't agree you will see that happening at all, and you already see people in Malaysia working for companies, all over the world, and even Singapore, right? So many of our Singapore companies used to hire you and have to go down to Singapore. They don't need to have you to go down to Singapore anymore. Can you imagine how scary that is for Malaysian entrepreneurs who are trying to hire tech-savvy people? And when you say salary down, there's a downturn in salaries. This really surprises me, right? Because a lot of tech leaders and entrepreneurs who've raised a decent sum of money, immediately the first thing they do is they try to hire better quality tech talent, right? And some of them cannot find. One person said that 2 people told me they've got a 5-figure salary, right, ready for somebody with like 5-7 year experience, and they cannot hire. And I know that this is a case of employer branding also, but this slight downturn is kind of interesting to me. But I definitely don't see it with the C-level people I talk to, right, who are from the tech space, looking to hire tech savvy talent out there.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about Karam, I'm just looking at some of the data here, right?
Sure.
So
Yep.
We're looking at, for example, if you're in the one that's most attractive is electronics, the E&E industry,
Yep.
right? So that doesn't sound too bad. The salary, the top paying average monthly salary for professional in the E&E industry is 12,532 ringgit, which sounds
damn good.
I mean, in Malaysia.
I would like that salary.
But I think you have to look at like I was going to say, you look at the entry level, it's 4,000. And the thing about 4,000, it sounds like a lot, but actually it's kind of barely above what you would think is minimum if you have a family. I think it's so it's the kind of salary where really, if there's really a strong demand, I think it should actually even be higher than that.
But starting salaries of 4,000 ringgit in the Klang Valley is very good. If you're anybody below the age of 28, and most people below 28 are probably not married, I think it's a decent, and remember it's an entry salary. Yeah, so by 28 you're already not in your entry salary. So 24 below, right? Maybe 22, 23, 24. I would argue that 4,000 is a very good salary in Malaysia, right? For starting salary, I would argue it's a very good one.
I mean, this is the top sector. So
yes.
It should look good. But I'm saying it's just still, if there really is a demand, it should be higher than that. This is my argument. At this point, I'm going to pull out the spreadsheets and the graphs, right?
But I think this is. But by the way, you made an interesting point also about. Just do this quick points off about. By the way, this same story mentioned a very important fact that Malaysia's digital economy, as a percentage of GDP, has hit the 20% mark. That was, I think, in 2014, and this was under Yasmin's time. The government, I don't know which agency or who, right, said that we are projecting that we want to keep growing and pushing the digital economy, and we hope, and we are aiming for it to hit 20% of national GDP by 2020, and it has hit it this year. So kudos to everyone who worked to make that happen.
Yes.
This is one of the beautiful occasions where, when planning, right, and execution has managed to meet, right, the stated goal. And maybe you can, and nobody said nobody said they set a low bar, right? I think it's a reasonable bar, and now hopefully they set a much higher bar, yes, like say 2030, right?
And the other thing that the president makes is that it talked about an acceleration in the adoption of digital, and obviously the pandemic pushed things. So there was certainly a lot of growth in e-commerce, for example, right, Karam? And ICT services as a result. So
obviously,
I mean, I guess if you want to look at silver linings, like that's that.
Yeah, no, but I just another quick thing, because you were talking about the salary downturn, and one more thing I want you to mention, Dzof, is that you are making the comparison with Thailand, right? Because they equalize it based on purchasing power, and
yes.
there was something interesting about Malaysia's salary versus Thailand, which is what?
That's right.
So what did you want to say about the salaries?
I mean, they're saying, according to the chart they have here, that even when you take into account purchasing power, Malaysia is slightly lower than Thailand in terms of the comparison of salaries, right? So obviously Singapore is really up there.
Almost double, almost double Malaysia.
Singapore's ratio, it's almost double. That's right. But so they're saying for the same job and the same cost of living, you're kind of effectively getting as much. That's what they're saying. But it was saying, oh, Thailand is like slightly higher than Malaysia. I mean, what's going on, right? I mean, is basically Thailand effectively overtaken Malaysia as a hot house for digital economy growth?
No.
This is what's happening, Karam?
No, not at all. So
Thailand, you
said
no. You said no very quickly.
I said very true, because Thailand's salaries are 20% higher than Malaysia. My argument is this: Thailand, because of their strong, native speaking preference, suffers very little from its tech talent being pulled into other countries. And I make this analogy, and I stand to be corrected, and you guys can throw stones at me if you want to. If you go to Singapore and you throw a stone, every 2 stones you throw, you're probably going to hit a Malaysian, and there's a high chance that the Malaysian is working in the supply chain sector or in the tech industry in Singapore. You throw the same stone maybe 25 times before you hit the Thai talent, okay? So that's my point. And you, like I said earlier, you already got Malaysian talent.
Don't throw stones lah.
Can lah, no, you not big stone lah. You just throw a small, nice smooth, one of those smooth, sea, ocean wave, right? Wave battered, small, nice little pebbles. How about pebbles? You just throw a pebble there, because I'm inviting people to throw pebbles with me if I'm totally off with my comment here. But again, you've got Malaysians working for companies overseas, right? I don't think you've got many Thai tech talent that is working for companies overseas lah. So the Thai talent is very domestic based, so there's very little concern about you losing every year 5 or 10% of your tech talent. So let's just leave it at that. We do want to move on, because we are running out of time, but we knew we wanted to spend a bit of time on the first 2 stories. And this is something interesting. We talk about 4.0, right? And Rais likes to use this, Malaysia 4.0, the 4th IR, and he enveloped his Malaysia 5.0 around it. I didn't have time to talk about Malaysia 5.0 and why Rais was pushing that agenda, which was, people were saying it's his agenda, not MDEC's, but he made it seem like MDEC's agenda. So I'm being sneaky and still talking about the first story, right? I want to talk about this. But look, we have the World Economic Forum has recognized and awarded Western Digital, which is a factory based in Batu Kawan, Penang, as its latest entry in a global scale onto a category it calls Global Lighthouse Network. And according to the World Economic Forum, this is a network of world-leading companies that have succeeded in adapting to the 4th Industrial Revolution at scale. So because the 4IR is still new, and the 4IR is where you've got biological and the digital systems coming together, and it's hard for companies to manage that. But for manufacturing-based companies that have made the transition, apparently there's a lot of benefits for them, but it's hard to do at scale. But our Western Digital has succeeded, and they've got this recognition. And after that, by the way, there are about 90 sites globally, right, that have this recognition, and Western Digital is the first company in Malaysia to receive this designation. And it means they've done a lot of things, right? You can go and read the story, but I just wanted to highlight them. And some of the examples, because they applied innovation, sort of AI, robotics, right? Automation is a given, advanced analytics. And what has happened is that they've able to reduce the cost of logistics delivery to the factory by 32%, right? Improving. And inventory and order lead time has reduced by 50%, which is dramatic, right? You're able to deliver an order in half the time. And even more amazing, the Chief Minister of Penang's office came up with a press release to congratulate them. And they made the point in that press release that the productivity output from the factory has gone up by a factor of 300%, which is incredible, right? Which business owner won't give an arm or a leg for their productivity to go up by a factor of 3, right? 300% is amazing. So we'll be running that press release for DNA on Monday, but do have a read of that. So that kind of shows you the immense power and potential that 4IR has when you implement it well and at scale. The key is at scale, right? So just want to talk about that. Congratulations to Western Digital, and of course Maida also was congratulating them. Great job and all that, right? So we'll leave it at that, lah. Yeah. Unless you got something you want to say about this,
Yeah. The only thing I want to add is that it's not just IT solutions or technical solutions, right? There's also a recognition of the training and the
upskilling. Absolutely, yes. It's a whole holistic, checklist, right? That you got to do, right? Yeah, to enjoy the full benefits of 4IR. Absolutely.
Right. So for the final story, Karam, obviously this is something about the tourism ministry. This is something that was brought up in Parliament. The Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister, Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri, was asked, right, is there going to be a mechanism to regulate the services and operations of online travel agents?
Interesting.
And he said that currently there's no legal provision to regulate these interests. So we're talking about here, like if you're booking a room, right, through a third party, like an Agoda or something, right? Then how much does the hotel pay this website for these services? Right? So at the moment, everything is negotiated between the website and the hotel.
Absolutely.
And she said currently there's no provision to mandate that. But she also said then the tourism ministry will look into the need for such mechanisms. So there's nothing conclusive, nothing definite. But I was just interested that they said they were open to regulating this and giving a little bit of legislation to it.
Yeah.
So well, let's see what happens. I think there should be enough competition that you don't need to do that. But well,
I agree. But we'll see. It's interesting that they do want to look into it, and obviously they'll get the feedback from the Malaysian, travel association, relevant travel associations, and like I said, we'll see what happens there. And then with that, we hope you enjoyed today's show. As usual, please comment and do share this YouTube video also if you like it, and offer suggestions if you want to, right, and how we can make the show better. All right, then we'll see you again next week.